Marjorie Taylor Greene decided to speak at an event that was organized and founded by white nationalist Nick Fuentes. And when she received some backlash for speaking at this event, she pretended to not know who Nick Fuentes was, which is laughable. Now, before we get to her comments and her speech and all of that, I think it's really important to take a good hard look at some of the nonsense coming from Nick Fuentes just moments before Marjorie Taylor Greene took the stage to speak herself. Let's watch.
You want to know the secret? To borrow a phrase from a friend of mine, our secret sauce here, it's these young white men. Yeah! That's what we call the secret ingredient. America and the world has forgotten about them, but not us. You know, they say about America, they say, diversity is our strength, you know? And I look at China and I look at Russia, who, can we give a round of applause for Russia? Yes. Absolutely, absolutely. And now they're going on about Russia and Vladimir Putin is Hitler, and they say that's not a good thing. And I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that, but what other way is there to say it? Of course we know that's a terrible comparison.
Now, I don't know if I allegedly didn't know anything about Nick Fuentes or this event, and I was about to go up and speak after hearing that. You know what I would do? I'd be like, no thanks, sorry, I'm leaving. But that's not what Marjorie Taylor Greene did. She watched that. She saw what was going on during this event, the American First Political Action Conference, that's the title of the event. And she's like, awesome, I jump in it. She goes and she gives her speech. And then when she gets backlash, she's like, oh, me? I didn't know what I was doing. I never know what I'm doing. Yeah. Oh yeah, okay. So I'll give you the details of all of that in just a second. Cenk, go ahead.
So there's two interesting things that come out of that speech by Fuentes. First of all, if you didn't know going in, to Anna's point, you certainly knew by the time you heard him speak. And remember, this was not before the invasion. This was after Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah.
Now, secondly, I said that a lot of the right wing in this country is rooting for Putin because they like that he is a white warlord and that he doesn't care about woke culture. He hates the same people that they hate, and they like him because he's white. And here's a room full of white supremacists literally chanting Putin, Putin here in America. If they were trying to prove me right, they couldn't have done a better job. Yeah. Like, I mean, that is exactly what I said they thought. And then I remember the right wingers, oh no, that's not true. There it is with your own eyes.
Yeah, let me also share a list of other topics that were discussed during this fine event. Executing Anthony Fauci, because of course, hanging political enemies, like maybe Mike Pence, reminds me of the Capitol rioters who were chanting hang Mike Pence as they were storming the Capitol. Criminalizing LGBTQ Americans. Jesse Lee Peterson also spoke at this event. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this man who is unhinged and crazy, he's black. And he said that the civil rights movement was the worst thing to ever happen to black people. And he also ranted about white Americans being replaced by non-whites. Jesse Lee Peterson.
Who's black?
Who's black.
He said such an.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene, a US Congresswoman, sees everything that's going on and decides to give a speech. In her speech, Greene referred to the assembled crowd among the prominent right-wing extremists who have been photographed giving the Nazi salute and reciting the infamous 14 words, a white supremacist slogan, as canceled Americans, because they're real victims. They're canceled Americans.
I mean, they just got canceled because they're Nazis? Poor guys. They say with a straight face.
And then when CBS journalist Bob Costa approached Greene to ask her, hey, why did you decide to give a speech at this event considering all the issues at play? Here's how she responded.
I do not know Nick Fuentes. I've never heard him speak. I've never seen a video. I don't know what his views are, so I'm not aligned with anything that may be controversial. What I can tell you is I went to his event last night to address his very large following, because that is a very young following, and it's a generation I'm extremely concerned about.
It's a white nationalist.
Excuse me a minute. I'll tell you exactly why I went. I went to talk to them about America First policies, and I talked to them about what's important for our country going forward.
Do you endorse Nick Fuentes' views?
Excuse me. I don't know what his views are. I've never.
He's a white nationalist.
I do not endorse those views.
All right, quick clarification before we get to our response to that video. So Jesse Lee Peterson did speak at the event and did talk about the civil rights movement being the worst thing to ever happen to black people. But while the topic of white Americans being replaced by non-whites was definitely discussed, Jesse Lee Peterson did not talk about that in his talk, his speech. Doesn't matter. I mean, we all know what Jesse Lee Peterson is there for.
Jesse Lee Peterson has said before, thank God for slavery.
Yeah.
So that's the caliber of black leaders going to this white supremacist rally. I mean, he's a walking, living, breathing Uncle Ruckus.
Okay, but like in that video with Marjorie Taylor Greene trying to defend herself, first of all, I don't buy for a second. Like, she's dumb, don't get me wrong. I totally buy that she's a dumb person. I don't buy for a second that she's not informed about what this event is and was. And also, I mean, she says it in the video. I came here to speak because it's America First. What do you think America First is? What do you think the meaning of that is? What do you think the meaning of that is? Where did that come from? She knows what she's doing. She's dumb, but she's not that dumb.
So she said, I've never heard him speak, except for right before you spoke.
Right.
He gave the speech we just played for you guys, and you came out and you saw the video with your own eyes, greeted him enthusiastically, shook his hand, patted him on the back. Oh, and remember he said they're comparing Putin to Hitler as if that's a bad thing. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, you shouldn't have said what was in your mind, but you did say it. And then she comes out and she's like, hey, this Hitler-loving guy. Yeah. Great to see you, pat on the back.
It's so disgusting.
So, but look guys, when you get invited to a speech, most people do just a little bit of research. And so you get a picture taken with a guy you don't know, that happens, right? But you're going to give a speech somewhere. You don't have any staffers who just did one simple Google search. The simplest Google search in the world would have told you that this was a white supremacist organization.
They know.
Right, and look, I remember Enrique Tarrio was at a same news event that I was at, and was the leader of the Proud Boys, and he's like, can we take a picture together? And I was like, no, no, we cannot, okay? So it's easy, and she said in that comment there, this is a generation that I'm concerned about, this audience, right? You're concerned, you want to, because those are the white supremacists that vote for you.
Right.
That's why you win. And by the way, you were also part of a controversy last year when US Congressman Paul Gosar went. So you and your entire staff missed all of that?
They know.
Come on.
They know. So she received backlash, not just from typical people on the left. She also received some backlash from prominent Republicans like Mike Pompeo, Mitch McConnell, Liz Cheney. But none of that made an impact on her because this is the kind of person she is. Let's go to graphic 6. I'm not going to play the guilt by association game in which you demand every conservative should justify anything ever said by anyone they've ever shared a room with. You spoke at a white nationalist event, you idiots. Like this, she does nothing for her constituents. This is what she does. This is her entire political career. Okay, going around with neo-Nazis and white supremacists and white nationalists, going around attacking children who have experienced their peers getting gunned down at their schools to harass them, going around attacking Muslims, including Muslim members of Congress because they're not swearing on the Bible, but rather swearing on the Quran because they're Muslim. That's the kind of person she is. She is the epitome of right-wing culture war garbage in this country. And you know who loses in the end? The American people. Because they have idiots in Congress who don't represent their best interests. They just engage in these narcissistic, self-aggrandizing culture war narratives. That's it, that's all they do. And it does have an impact on people at the end of the day. Disenfranchised individuals are harmed by it But when it comes to actually representing the best interests of people, don't ever look to Marjorie Taylor Greene and her idiot staff to do anything right.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.